live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. Unfortunately, you're probably wondering, hey, wait a minute, there's somebody in the title of this show that's not here. Steve got his 5G implanted into his body. He's being tracked by the government, so he just needed time to rest. So that way the chip fully settles into his blood and everything. Don't worry, this will all come back into a review that we'll do later, what we're talking about right now. But basically, Steve is just experiencing these side effects from the vaccination where you do feel a little bit woozy afterwards. And he decided to basically hold off for the night and let Dom and I do the show on our own. But regardless, we still have a great show for you tonight. I'm Joe Viso, and to my left is Dominic Guanzon in the blue polo. Dom, how you been?
I've been doing good. I kind of wish Steve, at the very least, maybe we just have Steve in bed, like streaming from his phone, and just be like sleeping. Just be like, "Hey, Steve, what do you think?" And he's just sleeping or something.
Hey, Steve, you still have the messenger link to get into here, so feel free to do that anytime.
You were just putting next to his cats, Siskel and Ebert. It's just like a cat cam. No. It's it's. I'm doing all right. It's been a busy week at work. Things are picking up again, which is nice.
Yeah.
But had a couple of 6 a.m. days, so that was not so fun. But I'm sure that's like every week for Steve, I think. So I'll get over it.
For me, yeah, work has been very busy as well. At my job, I'm basically in the public relations department, communications, whatever else you want to call it. I handle everything media-wise when it comes to social media, dealing with press, dealing with news outlets, all that stuff, or getting stuff out to the public.
Question. So obviously, I don't know how deep we can go into that, but I am curious. Like, has it been, because it's a lot of public health information, right? You have to relay, so it's like that must be super intense. I don't know.
It was intense at the start of it, and then after a while, the health department started doing it on their own. But at the start of it, I made like 3 PSAs, 1 in Spanish, 2 in English. I made another video of the testing site that's in DuPage County, like where to go to get it and everything. The things that are gonna happen. We sent that out to ABC to use B-roll footage for it. When it all started, I was like very busy doing all that stuff. But like now, it kind of like took like a slump, and like I wasn't basically busy for a long time. And it's like every department started coming back to work now that we've been vaccinated and everything. And people are just like, hey, Joe, quick question. Can you make us a video for our department? So I had like 6 videos to make this week. And I squeezed them, last week I should say. And I squeezed them all in and I got them all done. Like, it was nice. It was rough. But yet here I am reviewing movies and watching them day by day. That's why I had the whole thing where I was like, I watched like 3 movies in one day. I watched Cherry, Sponge on the Run, the South Park special, and then... there was one other movie. I watched it all in one day. It was movies that we just recently reviewed. So...
let's just forget SpongeBob and South Park. Let's just review the movies you made. And just...
So first up, we have adopting Easter time pets, such as rabbits and ducks. I give this one 2.5 out of 3 stars. You know, the camera work could have been a little bit better. You could tell I was a bit in a rush when it came to editing, but overall the script was very well. It got the points across well, and we got to see some cute animals. So 2 out of 3.
There you go.
Or 2.5 out of 4 stars.
2.5 out of 4 stars.
But glad to hear that, like, you know, just you're staying busy at least. Like, if there's one thing you could say about work, is staying busy is always good. But yes, for those of you who can't read, if you look at the scroll, it says that we'll be reviewing the SpongeBob Sponge on the Run movie, which is on Paramount Plus. We also have the South Park Vaccination special, which you can find on HBO Max. And we're going to be talking about this article that is actually not featured in the bottom scroll. It was something I came across today, and I thought it would be a nice little opening topic to talk about. But basically, Pixar employees now are actually voicing something I was actually kind of interested in hearing from them, which is how come like movies like Soul, which personally for me was my favorite film last year, and the upcoming Pixar film Luca are going to be free on Disney Plus, and they're not giving you the $30 upcharge, but not only is it going to be that, how come they're also not coming to theaters? And this article, which you can find on Cinema Blend from Sarah L. Mahmoud, she's basically reports that from a reliable source, Matthew Belloni, he talked about, he's basically tweeted, I talked to a few Pixar friends who say Luca and Soul move to Disney Plus has been demoralizing for employees. Forgetting theaters were not even good enough for the upcharge, that $30 upcharge that you get with Disney Plus if you choose to watch something like right now, which is Raya and the Last Dragon, and the upcoming Marvel film Black Widow will be doing the $30 upcharge as well. Both these movies, Soul and Luca, they are huge productions and technical achievements like every other Pixar film. Like we talked about how Soul implementing shadows and different animation styles into one movie is like gotta be a animator's nightmare, but also like their dream to just experiment with all that. Both these films, according to this article, took 4 years to basically get done. That's pretty long considering Marvel can pump out a movie in less than a year. And they were slated to hit theaters like every other film was until COVID-19 struck basically the whole world. And Disney basically delayed them until basically they were like, screw it, we'll just throw it onto Disney Plus that comes with your subscription. Now, the only other movie, and it sucks to say this, but the only other movie we really got from Disney Plus that came along with our subscription that was supposed to go in the theaters was Artemis Fowl. So it's like, on one end, you have Artemis Fowl, one of the worst movies we saw last year. For some of us, the worst film we saw last year. And on the other hand, you have Soul, which is one of the best movies we saw. And both of them come with your Disney Plus subscription. And for me, and Dom, I'll let you take over, and I'll just open the point with this. I get where the animators are coming from. You put 4 years into these projects, and all of a sudden, like, you have Disney walk in and say, well, all your hard work and effort won't even be shown on the screen at all. Now, I get it. Like, the theaters, they were all not safe to go to for a period of time. I get that. And some of them did reopen. And it does suck that your films won't be seen on the big screen. What you were intending, these beautiful landscape imagery things that you guys animated in Soul and in Luca. It won't be seen on a theater screen. And instead it will be shown on my phone at 3 a.m. when I'm watching these movies.
Yeah.
I get where you guys are coming from, but these movies aren't really free. Like, I am paying an $8 subscription to Disney Plus, and no offense also to Disney, there's really nothing on there. Like, yeah, we're getting the Marvel stuff now, and both WandaVision was a lot of fun, and the Falcon and Winter Soldier show is actually turning out better than I thought it would ever be. But still, there's still not enough on there for me to go, it's worth your subscription. For Pixar movies to be included with that, the more recent ones that are being released, I think that's a good selling point for the platform. I get where they're coming from. I totally get it. I want your guys' work to be shown on the big screen and everything. And I get that you guys want to be rewarded for your hard effort to be like shown like some like, oh, Disney does care about our work, because you have films like Black Widow, Cruella, Raya, and even Mulan last year that like, well, if you want to see this film, you got to pay that $30 charge to to see it. And it's just like, well, yeah, that's all I basically have to say. I kind of lost my train of thought there at the very end. Don, go ahead, take over.
That's fine, but yeah, you mentioned that the price went. I don't know if you mentioned this. The price went up for Disney Plus too, by $1. But it's a slow creep. I think
Netflix did that for the longest time. It was like $7, then $8, then $9. Now it's $15 a month.
Yeah, and like I don't want to go into that necessarily the price increases, but it does kind of make sense. And I think everyone knew that Disney was kind of lowballing it to cast the wide net, get everyone on, wait for grandma to forget that she's paying for it, and then up the price over the next months and years, et cetera, et cetera. That's fine. That's the usual. But like, yeah, what are we paying for? What are we doing here? I agree with the sentiment, and I agree with Joe, but like, Joe will agree with me on this point too. But like, nothing that we've paid $30 for has been worth that $30. Not even close. Okay, so the only thing that I think comes close to that to a theoretical $30 would be like Soul, and even then, I'm like, I'm paying for 3 movie tickets, right?
And I love that movie. I still wouldn't. There is no movie to me that is worth $30, honestly.
No.
Like, none of these films are worth that $30 benchmark price on Disney Plus. I think that's ridiculous. The $20 we pay for the video on demand fee, I think is pushing it already, because that's just like, it's my ticket plus someone else. But it's like $30.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, look, I don't have a family. I'm a 25-year-old living by himself, trying just to get by. And like, you guys are charging me $30 to see your latest Marvel film or whatever the hell else you guys are releasing.
Would you have paid $20 to see Raya and the Last Dragon?
Would I have paid $20 to see Raya?
Yeah.
I think the highest I would go is 15.
Yeah, right.
Like 15, and hopefully like a Coca-Cola and popcorn is included. And I like that movie. I gave it 3 out of 4 stars. But like, still, like, money to it's very hard to go from, especially for me, from $10 a ticket to then $8.95 a month because MoviePass was a thing, to then $15 a month to see 3 movies a week. With my AMC subs thing, it's really hard to be like, well, now I'm paying $30 for just one movie.
On top of the subscription.
On top of the subscription. Like, it would be something if it was like, hey, if you don't have a Disney Plus subscription, it's $30. If you do have it, it's $22. I can at least then go like, okay, all right, like, it's not that bad, but at least like I take money off of it. But the fact that like for this month I am now being charged $38, it's like, get out of here, guys. The Mighty Ducks show was something I never asked for, like, and I don't want it on this platform.
So true. I'm watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? Yeah. And every time on that carousel on the main menu, I see the Mighty Ducks, and I'm like, man, I don't care at all about this.
And I'm gonna end up watching it eventually because there's nothing else on that platform, and I'll be like, you know what? Because there's nothing else to watch on it, it's actually a good show.
It sucks. We were being so dismissive, I'm sure, to a team of people that work really hard on that show, but it's like,
probably.
They have to know. It's like, yeah, I'm working on the Mighty Ducks show. You know, not culturally relevant. Maybe it's good. Hey, look, I can't judge too much, but yeah, the thing that matters to me the most has mattered for the entire run of the online run of Sleepless with Steve, right? Mm-hmm. Is safety first, keeping people safe, keeping people out of, not providing an avenue for people to be stupid and to spread this disease. So it's funny. It's like, I don't know. Can the people who are making Black Widow, can you like live with the fact that your movie is being shown in theaters where people are potentially getting sick? I think it hits differently now that we have a vaccine.
Yeah.
Maybe if Black Widow came out
when the vaccine wasn't even like being put out there, Disney was like, we ain't putting anything in theaters. Like Mulan didn't go to theaters. It was rightfully only on the thing. Because the vaccine is like distributing now, it's actually on a roll and whatnot, or like some states are actually doing way better than most of them. They were like, okay, or countries I should say too. They were like, okay, yeah, you know what? Raya the Last Dragon will be our first Disney like film to go out there and test the waters. And it made, for a movie in a pandemic, 10 mil opening weekend, that's pretty good. Like,
pretty good.
Like, you gotta consider that. Kong versus Godzilla, we'll get into that next week about how that box office went, because I'm curious to see how it does here in our theaters compared to overseas where it made a killing. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah,
does anyone does the box office have any meaning right now? Does that metric have any meaning whatsoever? Because there's a massive asterisk. I'm sorry, what?
To maybe like theaters, like, oh god, we're actually gonna be alive still.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, the profits for sure. Yeah. No, the actual like, hey, this needs to go to us. Yeah, sure, I get that. But like as a measurement of how well a film is doing, no one can reasonably be using that as a metric, right? It has to be through streaming. I can't help. It was Tenet for the longest time, but now Tower Heist is probably going to be our most mentioned movie that we haven't reviewed. Tower Heist, right? We mention it every time it comes. Prices come up for online streaming. I can't help but there's a little. I wish Steve was here. I can't help but there's a little bit of that playing into the insistence on $30. I don't know the checkbook, but like I would think Disney has money. You laid off all those people last year. What, thousands and thousands of people? I think. I don't know if it was in the 5 digits or not, but like I forget. But like, hey, you laid off a bunch of people last year. All your stuff is running at half capacity in terms of parks and whatnot. So it's like, I think you can save some money. You shuttered. Didn't Disney shutter? Didn't Disney acquire and Shutter, Blue Sky Studios, or something like that. I think we talked about that. I think
Blue Sky Studios did close down. I don't know if it was Disney's fault. There's been some. I mean, like,
or if they just closed down. Yeah, I actually forgot about that.
I forgot about it.
I'm just so used to Disney eating everything.
No offense to Blue Sky. I mean, like, but like their films were kind of forgettable, so I just kind of forgot how it went when it came to.
I would hope that the people who make those movies kind of know that too.
Yeah. I hate to say that too.
Yeah, but yeah, again, we do not mean to shit on the animators, the working men and women who, who are doing work. Particularly at Pixar, one of the most prestigious studios, right? So it's like, but at the same time, dude, $30.
I know.
I know you're used to probably watching it for free. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of wish they did. If anything, I kind of wish they were doing with what Paramount's doing, or what HBO Max or Warner Brothers, I should say, is what they're doing next year, and Paramount this year, which is theaters for 45 days. After that, it comes home to streaming. Like, at least then it's just like, okay, like, you gave it a chance in theaters and everything, but like, if they just don't want to spend the money to do it, whatever. I mean, it's Disney. I know they had to like make some cuts and everything, but it's just like they could probably make their money back once everything opens up like that. Like that.
I don't think they have to make that many cuts at all. But like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just just the sentiment from, and I'm sure there's a bunch of money stuff and politics internally that we're not seeing just based off this singular tweet. But like, if the sentiment is like purely about pride and like prestige, which I know isn't, but like, I don't know, there's a pandemic going on, dude. Like, should that be the first thing that you I don't know. I would think it'd be a point of pride to be like, hey, the movie I worked on could not have possibly gotten anyone hurt because it's safe and sound in your homes. So
yeah,
I don't know. We're letting kids go to school now, during this pandemic, 3 feet apart, which will mean 0.5 feet apart, and we're probably giving the virus.
And that's the thing too. Speaking of kids, you think about the major audience that will go see both these films is going to be families. So that's just like a pairing of like just you're literally sending a cluster of families who can potentially get into there.
I wonder if some dumbass exec was like, well, the kids aren't getting it, and these are all, we do kids movies. Yeah, let's just send the kids. They'll be safe.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
Anyways.
It's just sad. It's all sad all around.
You got anything else you want to say about this before we move on?
Yeah, my wallet hurts. $30? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no offense to the animators, my wallet's been hurting these last few movies from you guys on Disney Plus's platform, so I'm glad it's going to be free. I get what you're saying, but I'm glad it's free. Anyways, continuing our talk on animation, it's going to be an animation feature here on Sleepless with Steve. We're going to move into our review of SpongeBob, Sponge on the Run. Directed by Tim Hill, written also by Tim Hill. This movie is basically following SpongeBob and Patrick going across Bikini Bottom to find Gary the snail who's been snail napped. They travel across the whole sea and have a weird time doing it, just like the last few movies when they travel across the sea as well, and eventually find themselves in the lost city of Atlantic City to bring Gary home, who's been captured by I almost said King Neptune, but it's not that person in this movie. It is Poseidon this time. I almost gave the wrong one.
I was confused at first because they used like almost the same character design.
Yeah, but when they saw like, the big buff dude with the tail, like I was just like, oh, it's King Neptune, like Poseidon. Like Poseidon, wow, we're actually gonna get him in these. He's part of the SpongeBob lore now. Wow. But yes, we're gonna be reviewing SpongeBob, Sponge on the Run. Now, the thing about this movie is that this is basically kind of a sort of a setup prequel, sequel. I don't know how to describe this.
It's weird.
It is basically setting up Paramount Plus's new show that you can view right now if you have a Paramount Plus subscription called SpongeBob Camp Coral, which is the prequel series to the original SpongeBob series. And it basically follows SpongeBob while he's at a summer camp entitled Camp Coral, and how he met Sandy, how he met Patrick, Squidward, and Mr. Krabs at this camp. And the thing I find funny about this movie is that while it is like a setup to this whole show and it's basically connecting it to there, The show and this movie apparently did not have the same conversation when it came to making Camp Coral correlate to the movie, because the design of the characters are not the same in Camp Coral. I'm probably the only person that really cares about this, but I just found it funny to like actually notice this. If you look at the designs of the characters in Camp Coral, Sandy has glasses and a tutu. When they do the flashback in this movie, which I'll get to later, she doesn't have the glasses. She doesn't have the tutu. Squidward has glasses. He plays the clarinet. In the show, Squidward is actually a camp counselor there. He's like a teenager. He's not a kid. Mr. Krabs owns like a food shack that makes the Krabby Patties. In the show, he's actually the camp counselor. It's just like, man, you guys, like, this whole thing was to basically sell this show, and you guys were shoving it down our throats that, yeah, this is going to happen. And you don't even have the movie and the show correlate with one another on how this is working. And also, the animation on the SpongeBob Camp Coral show looks like complete shit. I mean, like, I don't mean like to jump the gun on swearing here, but like the animation on that show is bad. For the movies, though, and Dom, I don't know if you agree with me on this, I actually thought the animation in the film was actually kind of good. I thought like
I low-key loved it.
Yeah, like it is different than we normally get with SpongeBob, but it was animated so well. I actually really enjoyed how this looked. And there's some really good scenes here where like they're going across Bikini Bottom, and just the details in SpongeBob's house at the Krusty Krab, like seeing the rust on the tables or the wood like scraping off. It was like, man, this is actually a really neat animation style to see with SpongeBob, where we get to see just a little bit more detail to Bikini Bottom. It was something really cool. And then eventually when you do get to the lost city of Atlantic City, it straight up looks like Vegas. It's modeled after Vegas. It looks really cool. I have to say, the animators did a great job there as well. The animation was something I noticed a lot of people, when the trailers were first being shown for this movie, a lot of people were complaining about it. And from the trailers, I was like, I'm willing to give it a chance. Like, it's a new take, a new different look to SpongeBob, which is fine. You know, the last movie they did, I forgot the name of it, but they did the whole live action thing where SpongeBob comes into our world as a superhero at the very end of the movie. But the rest of the film is just the normal 2D classic style. I was open to this, and I actually thought the animation looked good. Dom, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, for just the whole review overall, I was like, okay, take off your nostalgia glasses. You know, nothing's gonna ever beat the first. Nothing will ever beat, in my eyes, the first 3-4 seasons of the show. You know,
and in the original movie too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know, nothing's gonna beat that. Just calm down, give it a chance, and just take it for what it is, which is kind of sad in one way, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, the thing I think the strongest point we might agree is going to be the animation here, because it's pretty damn good. I was really surprised by the blend of like 2D, 3D, and it like the shine on things. And you know, we're not animators, so I'm sure there's a lot of technical terms we could be using, but just the way it looks it keeps the spirit of the old while going in a different direction for this film, which I really appreciate. Like, yeah, you could have easily done the classic 2D style, but even that is starting to grate on me, particularly because it's like, oh, SpongeBob's design has changed. Like, that's not the real SpongeBob. Again, nostalgia glasses. We could go off on a tangent about that, but let's avoid it. But yeah, it's definitely was the strongest point. There was a point here, and this might lead into things for the story and whatnot, but I was thinking to myself, is this animated too well? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is going on here? Because the first 20 minutes, the exposition, right? Or really, it's just like a recap of like, hey, this is how the show feels.
Yeah.
In case
if you've never watched SpongeBob, this is SpongeBob.
Yeah, this is the status quo. It really did feel like they were doing like a reboot or something, or like, hey, this is our normal. And as they were going through that, I was just thinking, like, is this like animated too well, or is it something about the humor? I think it's the pacing. I don't know, Joe. Do you think this is paced like too fast, or like the jokes are too rapid fire,
So this is the thing: is that I don't watch what SpongeBob is now because, you know, I've grown up. I just kind of grew out of it. Those first 4 seasons, if you go back and you watch those episodes, You know, you have the opening part. It's the setup to the episode. You know, SpongeBob needs to get a job. You have the middle stuff. It actually has a 3-act structure within that, like, 10-minute time period. They actually managed to do that. 12-minute, 13-minute. They managed to do a 3-act structure within that. Whenever I went to my cousin's house and they turn on SpongeBob, it is now the randomness comedy hour, basically.
Yeah.
And that's what SpongeBob has become. And sometimes that can work. I've watched a few of the newer episodes, and I thought, that is funny as hell, and that is really creative. There's one episode where SpongeBob and Squidward, and you can find clips of this online, they go into, like, an alternate dimension where, like, they find doors to different dimensions of Bikini Bottom. And it's actually, like, really creative and funny. It's wacky, it's random, but it fits. That kind of humor fits that style of episode. When it's just an episode of them working at the Krusty Krab and SpongeBob's got to steal the formula. Not SpongeBob. Plankton's got to steal the formula for, like, the 200th time. It doesn't work. Like, it's just random. Yeah. There's too many, like, fart jokes. SpongeBob and Patrick just running around screaming. There's too much of that. That's my biggest issue with this movie is that, the pacing of it, I do kind of agree with you. I don't mind that it's moving so fast because it's just like, it's fine. And, like, you know, if we can get in and out with a movie, that's totally fine. But the comedy in this film is all over the place. There's times where, like, there's, like, a good Kenny G joke with Squidward that actually had me cracking up throughout the movie. Even the title of Atlantic City, the lost city of Atlantic City. That was funny. There's a few throwaway lines here, like, you know, just a few, like, quick quips that are actually really funny. But the gags, the whole setup sequences that we have to take like 10 minutes to do this whole scenario, this whole joke. Like, when you get to the live action sequence with Keanu Reeves and they go into the western town and
the
they're
saloon,
the saloon, that whole thing to me just did not work. You have basically SpongeBob and Patrick need to basically get courage, and by getting courage, they need to go into a saloon to defeat El Diablo, who I won't ruin the cameo of that character. But they go in there and they have to also deal with zombie pirates, cowboys, and something other that's like another
That was
zombie.
Such a weird sequence because it's like, again, like SpongeBob had live action aspects before. That's fair game. There's probably people who are like, oh, you use live action. No, that's fair game. No.
They go on scene. They're like little puppets. We've seen that tons of times. Even the first movie they did that with David Hasselhoff.
Exactly. That's totally cool. But like, I'm thinking of that David Hasselhoff scene now. But I don't know. I think it was like there was like some celebrity cameos back to back where it's like, okay, sure, you're relating on this. There's a dance sequence and like a song sequence. Like the quick aside about the use of music in this movie,
dude. Like, this is how you know SpongeBob's changed from when it's gone to the orchestral like doon, 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 to just Weezer. Like wait, what?
Yeah, okay. The opening song and the ending song was like, what the hell? This is some Blue Sky bullshit.
Yes, it
this
really
is some like DreamWorks bullshit. This is above you, dude. But I will say, the Livin' La Vida Loca scene at Atlantic City, that actually got me going.
Oh my god, I haven't heard that song in so long. It was just
that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason why.
I was like, no way. We're actually going to hear Livin' La Vida Loca? Like, it's been like,
I dug it.
I don't even know like how long it's been since I've seen that in another movie. I think like Shrek 2 might have been the last movie I've seen that in. Or like My Heart Will Go On. I thought that like that also ties into the Kenny G joke.
Yeah. There are some aspects where it's like where it was used properly. But like in other ways, it's like, what are you doing here? So yeah, the opening song where it's like a generic like pop punk song, in the case of Weezer, a cover of
Take on Me,
the weirdest cover of taking like, okay, sure, I guess it's like this feels like some Illumination bullshit that you're doing here.
That's what I was about to say. It feels like Illumination. They would start off with some pop song from like any other, like even like the Addams Family movie. I know that wasn't done by Illumination, but like those kind of studio films where they're just like, we'll get somebody to do the soundtrack and that's how we'll sell this movie, with soundtrack and just wackiness. Like, and it's
like, hey, this will appeal to the kids. Yeah. And like, no. That actually leads me into kind of the heart of my gripes with this movie, which is like, and probably later SpongeBob overall, which is like, okay, yeah, that's probably been a whole thing. But it's like, it's just, it feels, you can tell when it's really trying to be a kid's movie.
Yeah.
Right. and that's really unfortunate, because the beauty of, and this has been said to death, and we don't mean to say that SpongeBob is high art on the level of Mona Lisa or anything, or Breaking Bad.
I would say
but
those
like,
first 4 seasons are like some of the like gold standards for like animation, like family
yes,
animation, including
for
the
sure,
original
100,
film too.
absolutely. But like, you can feel that difference. I think you can feel that difference, and I'll even go as far as to say that kids who grew up on later SpongeBob, and even this movie and Camp Coral, sadly enough, which is
If you grew up
really
on Camp
kids.
Coral, you need to reevaluate your child. Like
It's kids for kids. It's really, animation has always been a way for adults that don't have enough time on their hands to raise their to babysit their children. Same thing with video games, right?
yeah.
But I guess we just got really lucky. And again, I'm putting, I have my nostalgia glasses on. I'm putting on my superiority hat, and I really don't mean to drive that home, but you can feel it through this film. Through, yeah, exactly, the random humor, the questionable use of some music, and it almost feels like it has this movie in particular. I need to go back and watch the '04 SpongeBob movie, but like this movie, I don't want to say it has too much heart. But like they're really laying into like the lessons, like
Yeah.
the lessons for the kids, or like, hey, let's come together, let's do all that. Whereas like I feel like nostalgia glasses, I feel like the early SpongeBob didn't do that as much, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, hey, this was the humor, this was the joke, partially because it has a shorter time frame to do it, so it was snappier in that way. Not that Sponge on the Run has any lacking in snappiness, but just the way that snappiness blends with is trying to blend with the more sentimental moments. I feel like it didn't jive with me as well as I thought it would.
I don't want to sound like this overall. It's not a bad movie. Like I didn't hate it.
No, it's not.
Like like, there's tons of people that I knew like when they saw the trailers for this, and even Camp Coral. But Camp Coral deserves that hate. I've watched the first 2 episodes. I'm like, yeah, this is garbage.
That's like 100% just milking the franchise.
Yeah,
you could say that about SpongeBob.
There
now,
is some
like
effort
1000%.
There is some effort going into this. Like Dom and I said, the animation, like it is a different take with SpongeBob's animation style, and for the most part, we are both in agreement that it looks good. Like we both like that. There are some jokes that work here and there, but you do have that factor that Dom is bringing up, that it's just like you feel like you're getting the typical studio animated flick that you'll see from Illumination or 20th Century Fox put out with like properties like the Addams Family, which is just like get Snoop Dogg to cameo in the film for some reason and make a song. Get this person to do the soundtrack for it. We'll have lots of noises. We'll have a bunch of musical like montage moments. Even though Viva La Vida Loca was a ton of fun to see again in a movie like today. But it's still like you feel that you feel like, okay, they're not really trying with this compared to what we got back then, which is just like. They actually did try to tell a story, like, SpongeBob, like, having to redeem himself. Even that last movie, trying to remember the name of it.
Sponge out of water?
Sponge out of water, yeah. That last movie, like, I always told people, I'm like, it's not that great, but the first 2 acts, to me, of that movie is, like, the best episode of SpongeBob we've gotten in the longest time. The minute
I haven't seen it, but would you recommend it at least for the first 2 acts?
The first 2 acts, it's all 2D animated, and it feels like an episode of SpongeBob. Like it's really well done. It's like our generation of SpongeBob's humor and everything. And I was like, oh wow, like I haven't seen SpongeBob do this in a long time. When you get to that 3rd act, when they go onto land, it becomes live action, it becomes superheroes. The last like 25-30 minutes of that movie, that's the movie I thought it was gonna be, and it was just like, oh, okay. Out of the 3 movies, like this one's the weakest to me. It's not like I wasn't really looking forward to it. Like I've grown out of it, but it's sad to see like something I grew up with is just like it's being now used for milking at this point. This isn't a terrible like example of that. Camp Coral's like the true example of it being milked, but this to me, Sponge on the Run is definitely one of the ones that's just like, if you're gonna do this with SpongeBob, just don't do anything at all. Just end it here. Just keep it on TV. don't try to do this big stuff with it. It's just like there's no point to it. I get kids like, you know, are still in love with SpongeBob and everything. You guys are gonna do your best with, you know, your spin-off shows that you guys are gonna be doing down the line with Patrick Star and who knows what else. But yeah, the only thing about this movie that I will say is like it almost ruined it for me if they would have kept going with this. There is a part where we get a flashback and another flashback and another flashback and another flashback. It is 15 minutes of flashbacks back to back. And it's like, whoever wrote that. And these flashbacks, of course, if you're guessing, it's like, that's probably have to deal with Camp Coral, right? You're absolutely correct. It was all set up for that show the entire time. And there was only one moment in that. It's basically all the characters remembering why they love SpongeBob, why they became friends with him. Which, you know, for us, when we grew up with the show, we know why they like SpongeBob. We don't know why they're together. Even when I was watching the show, even though I was watching this movie, it was like, man, how cool would it have been to actually, like, seen moments from the show that we grew up with be done in this animation style.
Oh, now I'm pissed now. Why did you bring up a good idea like that? Damn it.
Because the stuff we saw just felt out of character for everybody. It's just like, this didn't line up. This is basically selling like, hey, if you want to see them as kids, go watch the Camp Coral show. It's just like, man, I would have killed to see SpongeBob meet Sandy in this animation style, and then he dries up and he needs water. Like, it would have looked funny as hell, probably.
Hold on. Yeah, don't they have, again, I think this is a soft reboot of the series.
It is.
But like, yeah, didn't we already experience SpongeBob eating Sandy? She has an introduction episode, right?
She does, yeah. It's the
in the
tree
first
dome
season
underwater, I think is like what the episode's called.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like where they're getting the concept of air or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? So, and again, nostalgia glasses, I'm sure, but still, yeah, you already have all of that. Yeah, you could have saved on animation by just replaying those episodes, and I probably would have been like, oh yeah, hey, this is how this show used to be.
You know what it would have made me do? At least it would have made me go, damn, I gotta watch some more of that older SpongeBob on Paramount Plus.
There you go, exactly.
But now it's just like you tried shoving Camp Coral down my throat, and it's like, I'm not watching that, man. I'm just not. I know what Steven Hillenburg wanted, and it wasn't that. I don't know if he even wanted this movie to happen either. Yeah. Anyways, let's wrap it up here. You got anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Well, I'll start wrapping it up by saying that yeah, it's. I know I said, is this too well animated, or like, is there too much heart in this film? I posited the questions, but it's neither of those things. At the heart of it, it really is that, you know, this is a kids movie made for kids, you know, in that sense. And it really, I could feel the studio bullshit coming through, particularly with them trying to replicate even Pixar to a degree, which, Pixar is what it is, but it almost has a monopoly on that.
It's got a monopoly, and it's
on
got
that
the
kind of
formula
movie
down of
exactly
how to make you cry.
Which, if you're tired of that, that's fair, because you've probably cried so many times. But like, they tried to put that into a SpongeBob, which again, I don't want to say that you can't have those moments, but like, when you're trying too hard and you're using a series that really isn't known for that. You didn't make your bones off of moments like that. You made it off of, 10, 15 minute episodes. I actually forget how long some of those episodes are, but like, you made your bones off of a specific type of humor, a specific type of storytelling, and a specific type of, this is, humor and storytelling that we've been milking for the past decade plus, which is, whatever. That's just the business. But then when you're trying to reignite it on top of that with that, studio approach, with like, here's a kids version approach, which I think is going to happen in parallel, right?
Yeah.
These one series isn't ending for the new one. They're happening in parallel. So it's like, damn, Nickelodeon, you really have nothing but this, it seems. You have iCarly. Well, there's nothing else. Nothing else matters. But like, especially with the plot point of like Gary missing. I'm pretty sure we've done that a couple of times already.
That has happened so many times on this show.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, at least that Sponge Out of Water movie, they did something completely different with that movie. That was like it has SpongeBob and Plankton working together, which we've seen, but what they do working together, it's like, okay, no, this is some weird stuff. It's the weird comedy that works because like the plot they go through in that, it works compared to this movie, which is like
what would you have given Sponge Out of Water?
So the original film is like a 3 out of 4. Sponge Out of Water is 2.5. Like, it's just a little bit below that. Like, like basically, and this is kind of ruin the rating I'm gonna give for it. And I'll let you go ahead and wrap it up. But the SpongeBob movies, as they've been coming out, have gotten worse and worse. It's gone from good, all right, to which means the next one's gonna be Scoob level.
You're absolutely right. Two out of 4 stars for me. I was like 2.5 because the animation's really good. But then you mentioned, you totally brought me back to those flashbacks, incessant flashbacks, and attempting to shove in the new
killed
series.
It for me, man.
It's bad. It's real bad.
It was gonna be 2.5 for me. 2 out of 4, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, look, man, you can find, if you're looking for a film that has the wacky humor, which with that weird animation style, and it's weird and it's different. There's the Lego Movie and there's Into the Spider-Verse. Like, those two movies both do the wacky humor coming at you real fast. They have a weird storyline, but with really cool visuals to go along with it. It's those movies are done way better than this. And they have better lessons, and I think overall they're just better movies. Sponge on the Run, it's just okay. There's nothing really else to say here. It sucks that, we're getting to our generation now. It's getting to the point where it's like the cartoons we grew up with are being milked now. Like how my parents' stuff was being milked, like Super Dog or Wonder Dog or whatever the hell those movies were, like when we were growing up. Now we're getting our stuff turned on to that. This isn't Scoob levels bad. It's not like that. It didn't make me angry or anything. Because it still kept the heart of the show and what the heart of SpongeBob is at the end of the day in this movie. It still nailed that at the very least. It's just not that great overall. There's some good jokes here and there, and the animation's a lot of fun, but everything else about this movie, it is the typical family bullshit that a studio will crap out into theaters to make $100 million and then get out. It's Illumination. It's what Illumination has brought eventually onto us with some of these other animated studios. Every once in a while we'll get something from DreamWorks and Pixar that actually puts effort into it, but then it'll come back around to movies like this. It is also 2 out of 4 stars for me. Sponge on the Run.
It's great to look at, and the voice cast is trying really hard here.
Yeah, actually, that was something I wanted to mention. The voice cast, they're still going strong, but there were moments, man, especially with Tom Kenny, you can hear it in him. He's getting old. It's like,
I didn't know if that was. I haven't watched SpongeBob in forever, like the new one. So I'm like, has been a gradual progression? But it's like, yeah, dude, it's getting there. He recently voiced Spyro the Dragon again in the re-releases of those, and it's like, he still got it there because he's not trying to do SpongeBob, but like the iconic SpongeBob voice, it's wearing, it happens after 2+ decades of doing this, so, or maybe 2 decades, but still, it's
Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna move on. Don't know how long we're gonna stay on this one because I don't know how much Dom has to say about it. I have not much to say. Not much to say about it. But we reviewed a while back the pandemic special of South Park, and from what I remember, we all liked it. We said it was something that we kind of needed just to laugh about everything, feel some ease of what's been happening, and also there's the ending to the episode. Just felt very relatable. How Stan is just like, I miss how old things were. I wanted to go back. Like, it sucks. Like, we feel what Stan is going through. That, like, yeah, this is sucking. We're dealing with it. But damn, I can't wait till everything goes back and everything.
I thought you were gonna say the police brutality. That's like, there's a lot of people right now who can relate to that. Not us, but like,
that's a whole different topic. But out of nowhere, we were about to do the show one night, and Steve comes into the call when this was announced, but South Park announced that they were making a vaccination special. And I was excited to hear that because I very much enjoyed the pandemic special. And I was thinking to myself, like, wow, you know what? Yeah, you guys probably have a ton to work with. The election just finished. The storming the Capitol happened. I'm like, we have the vaccinations are being rolled out. How can you make that funny? I mean, like, they made the whole coronavirus thing hilarious of how it got into our country through Randy having sex with a bat and then
pangolin. It was a pangolin.
And a pangolin. It was both those things, and how they incorporated like Mickey
times.
Mouse.
He had sex with that thing 3 times, dude.
I was just like, wow. And then like, you guys got a lot to work with here, and I'm sorry to say this for anybody that hasn't seen it yet, but for as much stuff as they could have worked with, there's really not much here. It really is sad to say. I don't know how Dom feels, but like, it feels like they had like, hey, isn't it funny that the older people are getting the shots? Let's have them like act like they relived their youth. Okay, that's a funny visual gag to see every here and then. Hey, the QAnon people, the people that stormed the Capitol and everything? Yeah, make fun out of them. It does the basics of it. It didn't go extreme with it, as South Park usually likes to do, like what they did with the police brutality segment in the pandemic special. This one, it felt like they kind of held back, and like the whole thing about, because if you remember, for those of you who have been keeping up with the show, Mr. Garrison killed Donald Trump in the season that he was running for president, and then Donald Trump ended up winning presidency, so they had to make Mr. Garrison Donald Trump basically in the show, and now that he's back in South Park, he's just trying to live his normal life, which to me was probably some of the best parts of this. But in even that, it's just like they didn't even take full advantage of that either. Like, you guys could have actually kept this going. We did have a press conference with Trump after the election was over. We could have talked about that. I'm surprised none of the Borat stuff came out of like into this. Like, there was so much other stuff you guys could have made fun out of in this. The Super Bowl, like, there's just little things that could have been brought up. Instead, they mostly...
I really appreciated, real quick, just Mr. Garrison trying to come back to normal.
Yeah.
Because it's like, guys, look, I know the election's over and I said all those really racist things, but like, can we just go back to, can we come together as a country and like come back to normal? But like, I'm feeling you. Yeah. Missed opportunities, it feels like. Now, at the same time, our expectations are what they are, and I think we might have been expecting too much. But the big thing here really was the QAnon and the storming of the Capitol, right? Yeah. The attempted insurrection of our government, our federal government, and it was I think we have some slight spoilers here, but like the climax didn't feel like it was it to live up to that. No. It almost felt like they blue balled us. You think?
Yeah, they absolutely did. And like, I totally get like if you want to blue ball it for jokes and everything, but like it just wasn't handled that well. Because the big like overarching story, which came out of nowhere when we looked at the last special, but like apparently Kenny is feeling that the group is falling apart throughout this pandemic. The fact that they haven't been able to go out on adventures with each other, really see each other at school for like the longest time and everything. He feels like the group is falling apart, and Cartman is trying to keep the group together, but Cartman, Kyle, and Stan are having basically like a feud with one another in different ways, and they're trying to stay together, and they think the best way to do that is to get the vaccinations for their teachers so that they can start coming back to school, be in school together, and try to rebuild their friendship. And it's just like, somehow, I don't know how, but the pandemic special, which dealt with Randy going to China with Mickey, having sex with a bat and what was the other thing?
Pangolin.
A pangolin. And then the police becoming the new teachers at South Park Elementary, basically making fun of the police brutality, and then a little bit of Donald Trump basically ignoring their coronavirus. Somehow, those 3 extreme, crazy-ass plot lines had more cohesion than this very easy-going basic one of just the boys trying to stay together.
It was a very South Park like lore episode. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like, it's more dealing with itself, more than anything, which is fine. Again, it can do that, certainly, especially for a special. But it's like the entertainment value coming out of that didn't feel as strong, because some of the gags there were like universal as opposed to very timely. Yeah. And again, we're just used to the timeliness of South Park. And then kind of the weakness and the blue balling of what's going on in terms of the other plot line, here's what's happening, and topical, whatever. And yeah, I just felt like it was holding back. Not so much because they were trying to hold back, but just I don't know. I think they just balance it wrong. Maybe it's funny because like if you've seen the documentary 6 Days to Air, South Park can put out an award-winning episode in like less than a week, and in many cases they have to because that's just the way that the studio system works over there for them. Apparently, I don't. It's insane.
7 Days to Air is a fantastic like short documentary to check out, which is also on HBO Max.
If you just like South Park casually, go watch that. It's amazing. You'll find a new appreciation for it. But it's just weird because we really liked the pandemic special, both what was doing internally and externally, but with the vaccination special,
it felt like they didn't have much really to say. As much stuff as we thought they had to work with, they just really didn't do much with it.
I think that's just. We keep coming back to that point, and I think that's really just the heart of it because they try to go meta with this episode too.
They do, yeah.
With like trying to resolve things, and it's like that doesn't. I mean, there's a visual gag with it that did make me laugh, but
that did or didn't.
It did.
Oh,
it did.
Okay.
Just coming over the hill with Mr. Garrison pulling something.
That was like the I didn't like the climax, but like that, like, yeah, that did make me chuckle because it's just like, what the hell, like the whole wrap up sucked, but like that sight gag was really funny. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but it not so much satisfying, but did make me chuckle. Honestly, it's like, yeah, I think they were trying to, have lightning strike twice and not quite so much.
Yeah.
But like, what happened in the episode for the boys specifically? It's like, is this going to be the new normal for them? Like, is that like how it's actually going to work? Like, with how they kind of break apart here essentially.
Yeah, because you see them. Like they have this falling out, and I'm like, so is this gonna be, because like the whole new thing about South Park is they have a continuous storyline now, so it's like, all right, is this gonna go in the next season where like the boys are actually falling apart, the pandemic actually did something to their friendship? It's a bold thing. I'm all for them taking risks because South Park's been along for so long. It's like, take a risk, try to do something new, because sometimes you get fantastic seasons like when Randy became a weed farmer. And then sometimes you get the whole thing where they were like, oh, we're going to focus on the election the whole season, and it just didn't work out. Like, it goes either way. Like, you can get something great or you can get something just mediocre.
You know what? That's fine. I'll take that over the alternative, which is kind of like the SpongeBob route.
Yeah, which is the SpongeBob route where like Family Guy's been doing lately. Like, just the same shit over and over again. So,
we're not going to shit. I'm not shitting on it too hard, specifically for that reason, because I do appreciate South Park for what it is and what it has become. But, like, thinking about... again, I think I mention this every time South Park comes up, but like the 9/11 episode, or the 9/11 episode, the one that the first episode to come back after 9/11,
yeah,
that is frequently ranked as one of the best, if not the best, episode of South Park, simply because of what it did, how bold it was to poke fun at everything in a time when no one else was doing that.
Yeah, everybody really was being patriotic every night on late shows, SNL, like.
Exactly.
Nobody wanted to make a joke, and South Park came out there and say, guys, we can make fun out of this. They didn't make fun of 9/11, they just made fun of the situation as a whole, like how we're reacting.
And they made fun of Osama bin Laden. That's for sure.
Man, what they did to Osama bin Laden was worse than what SEAL Team 6 did to him.
Just the magnifying glass is like small, isn't it? It's like, God damn, hell yeah. And, it's funny because like that was like a rallying moment too, right? It's like
South Park,
everyone can agree. Fuck this guy. Yeah, hell yeah. But yeah, and in some ways Pandemic Special was like that too.
It was, yeah.
Right? It's like, yeah, literal police Abrams tanks rolling downtown. It's like, hell yeah, this is what we came here for.
In fact, when we reviewed it, I even said like that special brought me back to that episode where it's just like I felt like this was the much needed laugh I needed. This wasn't the opposite of that. It was like, damn, like this was what I thought like could have been the special. Like, if you guys went like too far with stuff or just didn't do enough material. Like when I hear South Park episodes to be an hour long, it's like, do you have enough material for that? And it's like with the Pandemic Special, they totally did. With this, they didn't.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's like maybe we're expecting too much out of it. But like when you name it the vaccination special, it's really like a sequel to the pandemic special. Like you're really setting it up to be hand in hand with one another. You are kind of trying to go for lightning strike twice here.
Like,
so
with South Park having the continuous storyline, I would have loved to see some things actually continued from that special. Like I would have loved to see Mr. Garrison's reaction to the election. Like the fact that we just saw him get off the bus and like he just only has a Secret Service agent that has basically an underwear on the entire time, called Mr. Service. Like that.
This is bitch boy.
That was just like, oh, all right, like that's funny, but it's like I would have loved to see, like, you know, how he reacted to the poll results, if he actually, like, you know, was saying the stuff Donald Trump was saying and everything,
or like the agonizing month. That agonizing.
Oh my god, that's
month.
right. Yeah, just actually waiting for the results. Like again, there was so much to work with here. Like,
yeah, you could have just been that even after. Like, you didn't even need to bring Q into this.
I understand you wanted to make it in the moment, like everybody's getting the vaccinations. I would have totally been like leading up to the vaccinations, like, and then the rest, like, you know, the first 30 minutes is leading up to it's the whole election thing. And then the midway point is vaccinations onward. Like then I felt like you could have condensed your whole vaccination storyline, and you could have had this other thing be another storyline, and just like it probably would have flowed better.
Maybe, yeah. You know, we're not television writers.
Yeah,
or
we're not mad at Trey.
It's...
And to be fair, like they're way better at writing than probably like either of us are. They've been doing this for so long.
They have more Emmys than us. That's for sure.
They have more Emmys, and they also were one of the best.
They have an Oscar. Yeah, don't they have Oscars?
They have Oscars. They also have Tonys. Because Book of Mormon is one of the best musicals I've seen. Yeah. So
obviously we're biased, right? We really like South Park. Yeah. But ultimately, I have to give this 2.5 out of 4 stars.
Yeah.
Just because you're trying to go for 2 in a row, and it didn't quite hit so much. Because it's like, I was waiting for the big capital. I was waiting for like full on, like, was it Imagination Land? Like full on violence on that level off of Imagination Land, and it's like we didn't get it.
Like bold for you to do the opposite of what you did in the pandemic special, but it's just like if there was a group of people that do what you guys did in the pandemic special too, it was them. There was a time to do it, because I would have loved to see like the cops, because I thought like, oh man, imagine like the cops from the the pandemic special now being like, okay, everybody, single file line, you guys can come in, it's okay.
That's what I was waiting for, which is maybe that's too on the nose, but no, it's South Park, dude.
Dude, they were on the nose about the police brutality stuff.
Exactly. So like how awesome, like the continuation there. I was waiting for that gag, which, you know, maybe that's a bad thing to be waiting for a gag before you even see it, but come on, dude. Come on.
Anyways, I'm also in the same boat as Dom. 2.5 out of 3 stars.
We're in lockstep this episode with these reviews. Yeah.
Steve, stay out of this now. Me and Dom got this on lock. But yeah, I was just overall just kind of meh about it. It's not bad, but it could have been way better. But that's going to be it here for Sleepless without Steve. Next week is going to be our 1-year anniversary since we first started doing the show. We're going to be reviewing, perfect for the occasion, the big Titan movie that everybody's been talking about. And I'm going to be watching, hopefully later tonight, Godzilla vs. Kong, which you can find today on HBO Max for the next 30 days. So definitely check that out. We'll also be doing a Sleepless recap about the 1 year, some of our favorite moments about coming back, what we've enjoyed about coming back. So definitely
nostalgia for nobody.
So nostalgia for nobody, just us. That's a good way of putting it. So please tune in for that. We hope you had fun tonight. Weird that we did not have to take a Zoom break for some reason. I don't know why. Steve, maybe you're just bad luck.
Because there's only two. Because there's only 2 of us.
Oh, damn, Steve, stay out of this then. It's our show now. But yes, thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you back here next week on Sleepless with Steve.